Hello Super Sentai fans and welcome back to Toku Topics. Today I'm glad to finally bring you guys the English review of the Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger Memorial Edition Geartlinger. This has been a very long time coming, so let's just kind of zoom out here so we can try to fit the whole box into the frame. Because this box is absolutely massive, and I kind of want to talk about why this video took so long. So, back in January it was, or early February, I did an unboxing for this thing, which if you haven't checked that out, be sure to check that out. That was a lot of fun, but then it just kind of became the daunting task of taking this instruction booklet and trying to translate all of the thousands of things that this thing can do. I don't even know if I've still fully got it, to be honest with you. I'm going to be including either in the description itself or either as a link in the description kind of my notes that I wrote for this, so I can kind of try to hopefully cover every single thing with this to the best of my ability. But we have a lot to cover, so I'm not going to ramble on any more. So first of all, I want to go ahead and show off the gorgeous box that this thing comes in. But as you saw, it's so big, so I'm just going to be talking over some pictures of all the different sides. So on the front of it, it's designed to look like the kind of title card for a typical episode of Zenkaiger. So you have Zenkaiser's symbol there in the front, and then you have inside of the Zenkaiger symbol, you have the other four members, which I think is really cool. On the top, you get this gorgeous picture of Zenkaiser with the name of the toy. On the one side, you get a picture of the Geartlinger, then you also get a picture of the Zenkaiger 2022 gear, which is included with this toy. On the other side, you get a picture of all 6 gears that you get bundled with the Geartlinger. The bottom is just all the typical copyright and safety kind of things that you would expect the bottom of a box to have. And then finally, the back of the box is just a ton of different phrases from all the characters. It's a very busy backdrop here. I like this picture a lot with this team shot, but oh my gosh, there's so many things happening here. I can tell you right now, I'm not really going to do much with translating or even showing all the voice phrases, because we would literally be here for forever if I went through all that. There's so many things that this toy can do. So let's go ahead and, well, I've already opened this up. This is an empty box, and I will say, one just kind of, no, I wouldn't say necessarily a complaint or a gripe, but this box is super flimsy cardboard. It never wants to stay closed ever. It's just I can just stick my hand in there, and I haven't actually opened the box. It's a terrible quality box. But the toy itself is very nice, and the box presentation is really cool. And here is the Memorial Edition Geartlinger out of the box, and all of the gears that you get with it. This thing is very impressive, and very pretty. So of course this is the upgraded version, the adult collector version of the changer from Zenkaiger. And we've had a lot of Sentai Gear videos here on the channel. This has been one of my favorite changers and favorite toy lines to cover here on the channel. And so getting something like this that is the most, best version of it that there could possibly be is really cool. So like I showed off earlier, you also get this instruction manual that is done in all Japanese, but I just kind of Google translated it and did my best to kind of get the gist of what's going on here. Because like I said, there's a lot of stuff. This is just kind of a list of all the voice phrases that you have in here, which is nuts, absolutely nuts. But like I said, so many things to cover. So we'll go ahead and kind of start with a comparison between the original Geartlinger and this one, because obviously there's a big size difference. And here's the comparison between the Memorial Edition Geartlinger and the original Deluxe Geartlinger. So, as you can see, there's a significant size difference in these guys. I'll kind of try to compare them both here, so you can kind of get a little bit of an idea of the size comparison and how big the Memorial one is compared to it. They weren't kidding when they said that they upgraded this by 140%. It definitely is a bigger toy. So what's cool about this one, and I really didn't think this was a bad size. This is, what I would have expected from a typical deluxe, roleplay item for a toku show. I had enough room in there to hold it. My fingers are lined up to where they're supposed to be. I could put my index finger in there. But on this one, my hand is swimming in this thing. It is so crazy how much room you have in this one. It's kind of honestly a little strange if you're so used to this one after so long, to where you don't have the most room, but you don't have no room. It's definitely kind of a jarring thing at first. And obviously there's no mold reuse on this thing because it's significantly bigger. I mean, they probably used this as a basis and kind of blew it up a little bit, but they even changed things where the on and off switches is, because it is right here on this one. But on this one, there's just buttons and stuff back there, and there's no on and off switch there anymore. So there's that. But for the most part, you still have the translucent green plastic. You still have the metallic kind of paint there and everything. I do believe you still have the lights in the eye and everything like that. You still have the kickstand, for it to be how it is when it's kind of in the piloting Zenkaio mode. The barrels look very similar. And then, of course, one of the big things that they changed as well, being a Memorial Edition item, they basically removed, or not removed, but kind of, covered all the screw holes that you saw in this one, which was like all over the place here. It is actually accurate on the prop to see the speaker, so they did, or they see the speaker holes, so they kept those. So that's like the one thing that you can still kind of see the toy-ish aspect of this, of course, besides just the overall design. But overall, the idea is just it's a lot cleaner, it looks a lot nicer, and it is, of course, a lot bigger. The last thing I want to show off in the comparison before we start playing with all the sounds on this one is just how different the internal compartments are. So if you ever look at the prop from the show, whenever they put a gear in here, it's not taking up the entirety of the slot. The idea is that it's supposed to kind of rest in there. And even this is not the most accurate. Even in the show, there's still supposed to be a room in there. But on the Memorial one, there's like this gap in it now, and it kind of just rests in place there. But on the original toy, it took up the entire space of the compartment for a gear, which was just not the most accurate thing whatsoever. This one is definitely a lot better. It's still not perfect because this is still not 1/4 scaled, or 1:1 scale. I mean, it's like probably pretty close. I don't exactly know how much bigger it'd have to be. It's not. I'm pretty sure it's not full prop sized, but it's as close as it was ever going to get, especially compared to the original one. So included with this release are 6 Sentai Gears, which are the perfect options that make sense, although I am a little bit let down that there wasn't anything like Zenkai Red. Basically, any of the versions of Gears that we just never got in the original toy line would have been nice to see here, other than just complete repeats. But, I get it. You get the main 5 Zenkaigers, of course, you had to have those. They are done up in a die-cast metal, so they are very nice. I like these a lot. Actually, they have, good weight to them. They look very pretty. This one, at least for Zenkaiser, because he was released in it before, but these ones have not. This is very similar to the Sentai Gear die-cast set that came out in 2021, which is kind of sort of like a companion piece to this thing. You can, of course, still use any of the Sentai Gears that you collected in 2021, and even a good amount of the Avataro Gears that you collected in 2022. But obviously, they unfortunately did not upgrade this thing to have full Avataro Gear readability, even though they probably technically could have done that. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but there's also a little bit of some shortcomings with the actual functionality with the Zenkaiger toy line itself. So there are some downsides to this, but I think overall this is more of a better toy than it is not a better toy. This one though, this gear, I kind of understand why it's here. I also kind of don't. So this is just a re-release of the Zenkaiger 2022 Avataro Gear, or Sentai Gear. These are like those weird mixture ones where they did this one and Dawn Brothers. So this one is not done up in metal. It's just a complete re-release. It even still has like the gear pattern and even the B for deluxe. The whole reason why this is here is that originally this was a first release bonus if you bought the Enya Ride-On. Remember that thing? Because the show definitely didn't. When you bought that at the beginning of Dawn Brothers, or actually at the end of Zenkaiger, you had the chance to get this gear. And since that was a chance thing, I do have this gear, but since that was a kind of, not a contest necessarily, but a little promotion, some people don't have this gear, so they just threw it into this because why not? So I can't complain that it's here, but I also just don't really care. But it's here, so there it is. And it is kind of important for a specific mode. But like I said, you can still use all the gears that you probably already have. But speaking of gears, before we actually start diving into all the sounds here, we already compared the Geartlingers, so now let's compare at least one of the different gears. So right here we have the Memorial Edition of the Zenkaiser Sentai Gear, and here is the original deluxe version. So very similar in terms of the holographic stickerness, but if you're looking for more show accurate props and just an overall nicer thing, obviously the Memorial has the speed. I mean, Sentai Gears were always perfectly good. With their kind of, not metallic plastic, but not it's just kind of a dull gold. It still had nice chrome and stuff on it, but these gears just completely blow them out of the water. I mean, and it's not even trying to be a fair comparison. It's obviously trying to be infinitely better. They even kind of blocked off all the copyright stuff and the distinction between what kind of gear that it is. It still just has some screws back there and just looks really good. So I'm really happy with these. I have a really good weight to them. It's very nice. I like this a lot. And you can put this in the original Geartlinger and stuff like that. It still works the same. It has the same gear notches and everything. So anything that this gear could work in, you can use these ones in. These ones are just metal compared to plastic. And that's the same thing with all the ones in the set. But I figured, at least for one comparison, we'll go ahead and show off Zenkaiser. So finally, it is time to actually turn on this toy and show you what it does. So we're going to go ahead and start with normal mode, which is pretty much exactly what you would think it would be. This is basically going to be the mode where it's essentially just the deluxe toy, but a little bit fancier. So this is not the one with all the different voice phrases and just special sounds and all that kind of stuff. So this is just the default mode that you're going to use right out of the box. So to turn on the Memorial Edition Geartlinger, the battery compartment is hidden in the handle grip here. So you're going to pull this little door off. And then the battery compartment is in there. I believe that it takes 3 AAA batteries. And the on and off switch is right here. So let's go ahead and turn it on. So the light, you can maybe see it, or I think it was too late to see it, but it does light up just like the original one does. It's the same activation sound as the original one. And as you can tell, the speaker has been definitely improved. It's a lot louder. It's a lot clearer than the original deluxe one. So that's really, really cool. So in this mode, before we start putting gears in there, just like the original toy, you just have a shooting sound. Holding it down does nothing. Holding it down like this with no gear does anything. Spinning this without any gears doesn't do anything. So in this mode, there's 2 buttons back here. So this one right here is going to be our dialogue button, and this one is our music button. So in this mode, since we're not in any of the Memorial Edition modes, there's not going to be any voice phrases. So this button, it's just going to be kind of a clanking sound, like you're kind of carrying the gun around in the metal. Just kind of the typical sort of Toku props where in the show, like metal just makes some clinking noises. And the music button here, every time you click it, you'll start one of 6 possible songs from the show. So I'll kind of just briefly play through that. Obviously, I can't play too much of the music because the video got copyright striked. But here are the 6 songs. So the theme song. I know that's one of the songs from like Serious Moments or something. That's definitely from Serious Moments, definitely a darker sound. That's the transformation music, which we'll get back to that one. That's the roll call music, I think, or the finale music. And then that is the episode preview music for the next episode. So, really, really cool. I like that feature quite a bit. So in this mode, before we start playing around with a bunch of stuff, it's just the deluxe toy, essentially. So, I'll go ahead and grab, I have the gears all sitting off to the side here. So here is Zenkaiser's Gear. So this is the mode where it's just, if you're playing with the toy, you just want to kind of goof around with it. It's going to work the same way as the original toy did. So we'll go ahead and put Zenkaiser in the top there. So really, really clear audio. It sounds amazing. Really nice. So I think they definitely extended the transformation sound for this one. I think it has like, the full transformation, which is really, really cool. And of course, you can do pretty much the same stuff we could with the original toy. So holding this down. You can do the whole kind of cranking and rolling the team names whenever we put Legend Sentais in here. Holding this down. You do a finisher. And the sounds in this mode when you actually have a gear inside are still the metal clinking and still the music. And then you hold down the metal clinking, and we'll get to that because that's going to change modes. Hold down the music though, we're going to do something fun with that. So we'll take the gear out of here. I will, real quick before I start off, just show off the Zenkai side. I'm not going to be doing a ton of gear demonstrations in this video because for the most part you can expect what they're going to be. Any gear that worked in the original deluxe Geartlinger does work in this one. The only exceptions that I'm going to show is that there are at least 2 gears that have different noises than the original toy did, or actually 3 gears I believe that have different noises than the original toy did. So those ones I will show off, but I'm not even going to probably show off. I'll show off at least all the ZenkaiJyuGears, but I'm probably not going to show off much more beyond that. So we'll go ahead and do the Zenkaiyo formation, or the Zenkai side of this. It's gonna play the whole transformation sound. This is a lot longer than the original Deluxe Toys one is. So obviously, there's a little bit more to it. So the sounds from the deluxe Zenkaios are programmed into this. And there's all the different combinations. So you can do Zenkaijo, Juran Gaon, Magine, Vroon, and then the opposite combinations of that. I'm not going to show all that off necessarily. We'll kind of play around with it a little bit, but since it's Zenkaiser's gear, he's the one that combines them, so that makes some logical sense there. So that's kind of all we do with the Zenkaiger Gear on his own, or the Zenkaiser Gear on its own. I do want to go and show off that one feature I was about to demonstrate, because I think it's pretty cool. I hope I can show it off without getting copyright striked. At least I really, really hope not. But basically, you can replicate the entire transformation sequence, which is just really fun. So, when you don't have any gears in here, by the way, where is it? In this mode, I think, is it this one? Yeah. So when you don't have any gears and you haven't opened the door or anything like that, you have a gun shoot sound. You heard it very briefly. There was also like the clinking as if you were like moving it around. But when you hold down the button, you're going to get the transformation music. And if you time everything correctly and kind of replicate it like they do in the show, you can really create an authentic transformation sequence. So that would begin. And then this is them moving the gun around. And then they would put the gear inside. Oh, keep turning it. Oh shoot, it's the whole team. So that's the whole team. I think there's no voice phrases yet because we haven't turned on the memorial mode. So that is kind of a way to get an entire team transformation. And then obviously it was continuing the music into the roll call part of it. So I think, and I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video where I think things. So there's a lot to it. And I really hope that I covered as much as I can, as comprehensively as I can. But I believe that that is it for normal mode. So let's move into the memorial modes, which is where this is going to get a lot more complicated here. So before I do that, really quick, I'm just going to kind of very briefly on screen here just show you all the transformations if you really want to hear them with the clear audio. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. And then finally we'll demonstrate the Zenkaiger Gear, which is going to make the same sounds as it did in the, I think, the finale of the show when they used it, and also Zenkai Red's sounds are the same as this one. Alright, so it's now time to demonstrate what is going to be kind of the bulk of this video, and that is all of the memorial modes that this thing has. So, you heard it briefly when I demonstrated it, but when you hold down the dialogue button, Sei-chan switches it over to memorial mode. So there are 8 memorial modes that are unlocked via a couple of different ways. So the 8 memorial modes in the toy are the 5 Zenkaigers, so of course you have all 5 of them. The 6th one is Zenkaiger Final Battle, which is unlocked with the Zenkaiger Gear, which we'll talk about in a second. Then you have 2 hidden modes, the first one being the Stacey body switch mode, when he swapped bodies with Kaito. And then the 8th and final mode is the Master Kaito Zenkaiser Black version from Dawn Brothers. So to do this, they specifically mention how there are a couple gears that you can use to unlock, including this gear is an important one, the Stacey gear from the Memorial, well, either the Memorial Gear Geartlinger or the Deluxe one in this case. So what's interesting about this is that for most of the modes, you get essentially exactly what you need to unlock with these. There is also, I forgot about this one too, you can use this gear to get the Master Kaito mode, which is the Don Zenkaijo Robotaro gear, or you can use the Dawn Brothers 46 Abataro gear, Sentai Gear Fusion thing. However, they do understand that you probably might not have like the Stacey gear, or the Robotaro gear, or the Sentai Abataro Sentai thing, so that's why the Memorial Geartlinger are part of the reason why it comes with this one, and obviously just the main 5 gears we just took a look at, because you can get 6 of them, 6 of the gears that you need for the 8 modes, right out of the toy, but you can also get the 8 modes without having to use the gears. There is a way to do it. So basically, when we switch it to Memorial mode, Seichen's going to switch it to that mode, and there's going to just be kind of a generic standby noise waiting for you to put whatever gear you want in the Geartlinger and make it into that mode. So we'll go ahead and start with Zenkaiger, or Zenkaiser, which of course is the first mode. So it's going to play this kind of standby noise. So we'll open this up and put Zenkaiser's gear inside. So we are now in Zenkaiser Memorial mode. So we're kind of just generic thing here, turning it again. Now we're actually transformation. You heard a little Kaito, huh? And that's where you get the roll call from Kaito. And I believe there's one where he does the Zenkai finish as well, or the finisher. Which I definitely forgot to show this off in the normal mode. But you can hear them naming the whole, that's the team talking. And that's the sound of a Toji gear breaking, which is pretty cool. So, in this mode, I believe if we click this button now, we're going to get a ton of Kaito phrases, and I'm... Oh, he's still going. Thank you. So we're going to get a lot of voice phrases out of that. I'm not going to demonstrate all of them, because like I said earlier, we're going to be here all day if I try to do that. I will put up a picture on screen right now. Here is the list of Kaito voice phrases. It's not translated, because I know Google Translate is going to mess with it, but here's at least a picture of them all, because I don't think there's actually a PDF of these instructions for this toy for whatever reason. So that's as much of it as we're going to show, and I'll kind of show off a little bit from each of them. We'll do one last thing. In this mode, at least for Zenkaiser, we'll do the Dawn, or the Zenkaio confirmation, or transformation again, but this time in the Memorial mode. We're just going to go through this entire thing again. So this one has a little bit of voice phrases in there. You heard them a little bit. So it's a little bit different. But let's speed through this a little bit. So it's just going to alternate between Juran Gaon and Vroon Magine. So if you put it in the first time, it's going to do the kind of, and I think those are the first transformation sequences of them, specifically like the first time voice phrase wise that they were used in the show. So you're going to get the first one being Juran Gaon, and the second time you're going to get Vroon Magine. And I think if you want to do the alternate versions of the combinations, you have to use the gears from the other members of the team. So we'll get to that point very soon, because we're about to go into the next mode. But that's pretty much, as far as I'm aware, what you can do with these Zenkaiser modes. Let's go ahead and move on to Zenkai Juran mode. So I'm not going to do the full transformations there, because you know what it's going to do. It's going to, do the Yanjugo Ban, not Yanjugo Ban, it's going to Juroku Ban, and it's going to do the whole transformation, and then you're going to get the, roll call with him. And there will be a full roll call later on in the video when I get to a different mode, so that's just, I'm going to at least show off the showcase of the swapping of the modes by putting the gear inside of there. So here's a couple Juran phrases.
俺と一緒に都市伝導と戦ってよ。はあ？あ、いや、ちょ待てよ。俺も機械ノイドだぜ。ぶっちゃけよく初対面でそんなこと俺に。俺もおじさんと仲良くしたい。だってあいつらとは違うじゃん。
So the noises do go in like episode order, so that's like Kaito talking to Juran and recruiting him to the team in the first episode, so that's really cool. That's a feature that's in here. I really like that quite a bit. So for Juran mode, we're not going to spend as much time in these other modes as we did for Zenkaiser, because I was kind of just getting the understanding of it, but we will go ahead and show off the Kikai side. So mode 3 is of course Zenkai Gaon. So here's a couple voice phrases from him. So here's them recruiting the team. So here we are now in Magine mode, which of course is the fourth mode. So once again, here's the full list of Zenkai Magine phrases that are in this mode. So we are now in our final of the main core team modes, mode number 5, which is Vroon mode. Oh my. Good? Alright. Sometimes it's really hard to tell when the phrases are going to be done. They just keep going. Alright, so it's time for the final mode with the gears that you get out of the toy or out of the box. So this mode is known as the Zenkaiger Final Battle mode. We're using the 2022 Zenkaiger Gear, which was used in the final battle of the show. So for this one, I believe that there's a special transformation noise, and of course there's special voice phrases and such like that.
世界を守ったはずなんだ。
そんな大事な世界を閉じるギアなんかにして、世界侵略に利用するなんてはちゃめちゃにひどい。
そんな悪い使い方断じて許すわけにはいきません。信じできなくても結果出すまで全力全開だ。秘密のパワー全開だ。恐竜パワー全開ジュラン。
百獣パワー全開ガオン。魔法パワー全開マジ
黄金パワー全開ブルー。5人揃って機械全体全開だ。
すごい。見て、僕らのギアが治ったこれ。
マジか。よよ、
てかなんか新しくなっとる。
一体何が起こっているのですか。ボックワース、お前を倒して全部の世界を解放する。
We're practically watching the finale at this point. Oh, here we go.
チェンジ全開。
I don't even have to turn it.
45
It's just gonna go. Okay.
いくぜ、全力全開。負けてたまるか。
Okay, so it's resetting. So we'll stop it. So that was a lot. So that was pretty much the entirety of that final scene where they have the broken gears and they get the Zenkaiger 2022 gear that we put inside of here. So you don't really even need to use the crank and everything. You get the whole scene right there. But I do want to take a second here in this mode to demonstrate what you do with the trigger and the memorial modes. Because if you're not using any gears or anything like that, you of course still get the gun firing noises. But every third click, you're going to get some kind of grunt. So if it's in any of the individual modes, you're going to just get the individual person grunting. But since this is a special one, it's all of them. So that's just kind of a fun thing. You know, I like that that's a feature. But I think that's pretty much the majority of everything you had to cover for this mode. So that brings us into the two hidden modes that they say, using the Stacey gear and the Don Robotaro gear, or the Zenkaiger Sentai Gear. You can use either one of those. So we'll go ahead and start with Stacey.
俺とステイシーが逆さま全開だ。
Alright, so we are now in the Stacey Kaito body switch mode, unlocked with the Stacey gear. So like I said, this is the first of two that you can't get with the gears that are in the toy. However, we'll show off in a second, you don't need it to actually use the gears. So in this mode, we have some voice phrases, of course, when they're body switched in the one episode. So, oh.
よくもこの僕に攻撃を。よかった。俺の全力全開キャノン。僕だ。俺とステイシーが逆さま全開だ。チェンジ全開。じゃない、暗黒チェンジ。ステイシーぞ。
Oh, let's give it a full roll call. We don't need that. So that's kind of resetting there. So as you can see, there's not as many phrases. I'm still going to put it up on screen right now. Here's the list of all the phrases from that mode, but it's just a fun little mode. And then if we do the Kikai side of the Stacey's gear, we'll see what that one does. So that makes sense. So that plays the Makai, that means can't read it, which is what that will typically do in the regular mode, because this is one of two gears that I was talking about where they changed the sounds from the original Geartlinger. So in the original toy, Stacey's was an extra gear that was programmed in or designed or thought up of or whatever after the toy came out. So the Stacey's gear couldn't do anything. It couldn't be read in the Geartlinger. That only went up to gear combinations that ended up at 64, and Stacey's was number 65. Yep, 65. So only the Gear Toadlinger and the Dawn Blaster, and now this could read this gear. So, and of course, like, you know, the Memorial Editions, all this stuff can. So that is kind of a cool thing that they, of course, did upgrade this to where it does know that Stacey's are the thing. So this does have 65 gear notch combinations in there instead of the original 64. So we have one last Gear Memorial Edition mode to take a look at, and that is Dawn Brothers. Alright, so this is a really interesting one. So we are now in Master Kaito mode, or Zenkaiser Black mode, which is really cool that that's in here. However, since the release of this, and I guess this is a good thing that this video took so long, because I can talk about it, they have announced, and it's not out yet, the Memorial Edition Geartlinger Master Kaito Zenkaiser Black version. So they're releasing a whole other version of this toy, specifically marketed as the Zenkaiser Black one. The only other main draw of it is that they're taking all the other gears away besides Zenkaiser, you know, including the Kaito, Master Kaito photo book from Dawn Brothers, which is kind of fun, but I don't think there's really much else changed. I think there is still the ZenkaiJyuGear related phrases in that toy. I don't think they've removed those. I don't think. I don't understand why that exists, because there is still the Kaito mode, the Dawn Brothers specific mode in this toy. So, like, I really don't understand it, but if you didn't get this one, you might be able to get the Master Kaito version, and it might be very similar, but I'm not picking that one up. It serves zero purpose to me. Unless I find it for, like, dirt cheap someday, I have no need to have a second one of these ones. But I just wanted to bring it up because, like I said, there is a Master Kaito mode, so it's very strange that it's the thing that they did. So there's a couple voice phrases from him, not many at all, but there are a couple. See, there's not a lot. So, like I said, I do want to show off that, so I took, this is the Robotaro gear for Dawn Zenkaio, because if you weren't sure, this is actually just the Kikai side of what this gear would have been, so that's how that's able to work, because in the original Dawn Brothers toy line, or the Zenkaiger toy line, these would have been two gear combinations as one gear, so that's why the toy knows what it is, and the original one knows what this one is too. We'll go ahead and grab the Zenkaiser gear, because of course he used that to transform into Zenkaiser Black. So there's another voice phrase from him, of course. So no voice phrases there. Not much. So like I said, there's not much with that. What is really cool though, is that if you remember from like the two fights where he used this in the show, there is the big beam sword that can come out of this, very similar to Zenkai Red's version. He used that only in Dawn Brothers, so if we do the finisher for this mode, so it's creating the noise of the beam sword coming out of it, which is really neat. And that's just back to a gun. So that's really cool. I like that they included that beam sword sound in there. I think that's a really fun addition. And the final little kind of Easter egg, or not really Easter egg, but thing that we can do in the Master Kaito mode is if we take the Juran gear and do the Kikai side, we can do we can do Dawn Zenkaio, which is funny that we can't necessarily, you probably could do it with this, but the instructions say to do it with the Juran gear in Kikai side. I had mentioned that you don't technically need the gears to demonstrate the memorial modes. That's because, you know, if you lost them, or especially if you don't have the ones for Stacey and Master Kaito, to do the modes without gears, you just have to hold down both buttons at the same time. So we'll go ahead and do that. So there we go. So now we're back in regular mode again. So before we show off the very, very last thing that this mode can do, or like that this toy can do, I do want to, since we're back in this mode, kind of just play around with a couple of gears here, kind of take a little break from all the noises of voice phrases. So I do want to demonstrate a couple of fun little gears. We're not going to do a ton. So I'm going to go and start with the Don Momotaro Avataro gear. Since this is one that the toy cannot read, neither of the toys can read it. But, you know, if you want to see what it does. So just like the original Geartlinger in this one, it's just going to read it endlessly because it doesn't know what it is. Next up, we have one of the other ones that changed sounds. I told you before, Stacey's had special sounds added to this. Well, in the original toy, Zenkaiser just used one of 2 programmed new hero sounds, because at the time, I guess Zenkaiser's name wasn't finalized. So there was no Zenkaiser name in the original Geartlinger. The second new hero sound was actually used for the Zenkaiger Gear, and since that showed up in the show using that sound, the Zenkaiger Gear still or the Don Brothers Gear still says that. I think I said Don Brothers not only once, two times that I meant to say it. So Don Brothers will still say new hero in here because that is accurate. There is no Don Brothers added to this. But here is Zenkaiser though, which they did add to this. So they did add Zenkaiser, which is pretty cool. There are no Zox or Flint voice phrases in this thing, but that's fine because we are getting the Memorial Edition Geartlinger in a couple months. So stay tuned for that video because I definitely pre-ordered that thing. So that's kind of neat. Another one I wanted to show off. So if you're curious, I'm not going to show them off here today, but Christmas still works. The Comrade gears still work. The Superhero Time gear still works. All that kind of stuff. But I did want to go and show off the non-Bond gear, which was the special sound effect one. Which when you put it in the original Geartlinger, you put it in there and you click the trigger and you got a random sound effect from the Zenkai canon. However, this time around, they kind of took the kind of game aspect out of it and it's just going to do this. So it's just going to play all the sounds that the Zenkai canon can do, which is pretty neat. Then we also have this one I wanted to show off, which is the Super Sentai All Red sound, which in the original Geartlinger, and even in the Dawn Blaster as well, that was a sound that made it say all 45 team names in sequence, and it took like 3 minutes to get through. They don't want to do that again, so... It just stops there. It does not say all the team names anymore this time. It just says Super Sentai, so there's that. And then I figured there was only one proper way to send this off. So this is the very first Sentai Gear that ever released. The very first video that I ever made on Sentai Gears was about the Super Red Lupin Ranger gear. So I figured, since this is the last gear we're going to be showing off here today in any capacity, and just to prove to you that the older gears, the Legend Sentai sounds, are still obviously in here, here is Lupin Ranger. And of course, you can still roll the team name. And that is the only Legend Sentai one that I'm going to show off. I did lie, there's actually one more gear. So earlier I'd said that there's one toy that this does not work with, and that is this guy here, the ZenkaiJyuGear. So it's weird, because we have this and we're getting the Geartlinger, two toys that are supposed to use this gear, but it doesn't work anymore, kind of. They didn't remove the sound. The problem is that in the original Geartlinger, and this goes back to the very beginning of this video, which was a long time ago, which is where, you know, in the original Geartlinger, it could clip into it because it had that little, you know, that there's no space that there is for this one, where there's kind of that extra space around the gear that I was talking about. So because of that, you can plop it in there like that, like it can rest there, but it can't clip into there, so it's just gonna fall out. However, if I think you balance it, yeah, it doesn't really like, oh, here we go. Maybe? No? So, like, that doesn't even work either. However, there is still one way to get the sounds out of this thing for this thing. So this is obviously not what they want you to do, but you can take the gear off of ZenkaiJyu, and then you can try to insert it in there. Or let me put it upside down. Then you can put it in there, close it up. So, Super Zenkaiser is still in here, but there's just not an official way to do it. So I'm definitely wondering if that means that maybe they're planning a ZenkaiJyuGear Memorial Edition, because we're going to have both toys that can use it, or they just know that you can just very easily unscrew this from the bottom of ZenkaiJyu and still use it. Either way, it's kind of a strange and unfortunate thing. And then finally for this toy, there is one last mode that we can do. So, if we turn the toy back off again, and you hold down the trigger while turning it on, you're going to get to the Zenkaiger Memorial Mode, which I know we just did a lot of that. What this is going to do... So now we're in that mode, and what this mode is going to do is when you click it, I think is the trigger? That does nothing. When you click the dialogue button, and I'm not even going to remotely allow this entire thing to play through because it's going to take forever, it will play pretty much every voice phrase from every Memorial Mode that we took a look at here today. It's going to go through the whole show in a I don't even know how long sequence. So it's going to go through the whole show, essentially. Still plays music there. Holding it down doesn't do anything. I'm not even sure why this mode's in here, honestly. It's just going to play it forever, so there is that. So that was a lot. That's pretty much every single thing we have to cover for this toy here. Before I wrap it up here, there's just a couple of things I wanted to make note of. So if you're trying to do any of the Zenkai Gatai combinations, those are not going to work in the Stacey mode, and they're also not going to work in the Master Kaito mode. So they're only going to work in the different Memorial modes and also in the toy mode. There is a way, although honestly, I'm not quite sure how to do it, but there is a way to get the other two Zenkai combination sounds, or the Zenkaiyo combinations. So the Juran Magine and the Vroon Gaon. I just didn't get to it, so, or honestly don't even really know how to do it, so there's that. So I hope that this was comprehensive, I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that is that. So I'm probably going to try my best to include pictures of the instruction manual, due to the fact that I don't think that there is a PDF of it in a description below. Basically, there's going to be a little Google Drive folder, because there's a whole history thing you have to study for this thing. So in that Google Drive folder is going to be pictures of the PDF, and also my notes that I took, that I've been having. I have had my laptop to the side of me this entire review to try to make sure that I covered everything in this in as timely of a manner as possible, because it is a comprehensive toy. So it is definitely very comprehensive. Compared to some other Memorial Edition items that I have, which is pretty much just the Gokaiger stuff, this is an amazing, amazing piece for any Zenkaiger fan. I really don't know how they could have made this much better. And with that, that is finally going to do it for my review of the Memorial Edition Geartlinger from Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. So my final thoughts on this thing. If you don't have a Geartlinger, this is the one you need to be getting. So there's technically two versions of this, as I probably mentioned at some of the point in the video. They are re-releasing this as the Zenkaiser Black version, which is very, very strange because there is already a Zenkaiser Black mode in this, as we took a look at here today, but you get less gears with it. But regardless, there's technically still another option for you to get this if you missed out on this original release here. But if you collected every single gear, you probably already have a Geartlinger, and so this is where it's kind of a weird thing to where it's probably only worth upgrading if you really, really liked this gimmick, if you really, really liked the design of it or the show and just wanted to have all those voice phrases and wanted to have the bigger functionality of it and just the kind of presence that it brings. Other than that, if you're looking for just an actual upgrade toy, and you already have the original one, but you don't really care about the show accurate size or the more show accurate size or all the additional bells and whistles, you can probably pass on this thing. It's probably not the most necessary thing. It's probably not the most amazing Memorial Edition upgrade that we've had compared to like the Mobiles or something like that, where that actually was a solid and kind of needed upgrade. This is just kind of a fancier version of something you probably already have. And it's good for that, but at the same time, it's probably another kind of passable thing, as pretty much anything from the Zenkaiger and Don Brothers toy line is going to be for right now, since the show is so new. But with that, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of the Memorial Edition Geartlinger? Did you pick one up for your collection? Are you getting the Zenkaiser Black version? Did you pre-order the Dawn Blaster that they're releasing as well, that kind of is a gear-related thing? Or are you just sticking with your original Geartlinger and are perfectly content with the way that it is right now? Until next time, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LiveRangerKey or LightningFigPR, and I will see you all later. Zenroku Zenkai! To wrap up this video, I'd like to thank my $5 and above patrons: Jurassic Samurai, Magnet Alchemist, Robert Browning, Static Thunder, Brendan Overland, Maji Yellow, MCPC Studios, Comics 1017, James Darty, John Luke, Eric Berry, Tyler Bezetsky, Matthew Thorne, Josh Landry, Pyramidus, CPT Tesla, Cross SCV, Caboose Ed, Socket Monsters, Anthony Love, Daniel Pika, Hella Geo, Thrasher, Jesus Prime, and Uni Warrior Thomas. You can support Toku Topics for as little as $1 a month on my Patreon, linked in the description below.